Alrighty, Void. How are you guys doing? And hello to the people who've been talking to me in the comments. It's weird to be getting any level of attention. So, hi. How you doing? So, continuing my secondary backlog. Ugh. Okay, so my 31 Days of Horror still. We're now way into November, but I watched the movies. I just didn't have time to record everything. Okay, so Cabin in the Woods. This movie's a delight. I mean that. I This is one of the few movies I actually went back and saw a second time in the theaters. It was very enjoyable. Now, this movie is best served going into it cold. I had seen like one trailer for it, and otherwise, just it seemed like something up my alley. If you've seen my channel, and yeah, I really did love this one. The amount of meta references and just genre savvy cues it takes are very. It's an enjoyable movie. It's one of those things where it's difficult to talk about because this one is best to go into cold. If you. I mean, at this point, this movie came out 2011. 12 years ago. I'm getting old. But, point. So, I guess this movie's largely, at least, people are more familiar with now what it is. But at the time, we really didn't know what we were getting into. So, it was written by Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard, and Drew went on to direct the film. And it definitely does feel very Joss Whedon-y. I know he's kind of fallen from grace in recent time, and for some good reason, but he does definitely know how to make a snappy movie, and this is still very enjoyable. Okay, so Cabin in the Woods, it starts off like every horror movie ever. Group of friends going to Cabin in the Woods. And, well, they unleash something that they shouldn't have by touching something that was bad to touch. They ignored the warnings of the creepy old man on the way, and now are running for their lives from a zombie redneck torture family. But this movie does it a little bit different, as, well, spoilers, the whole thing is largely engineered by people who are trying to cause these sort of situations. A underground company that seems to be, well, manufacturing this nightmare so to appease someone or something down below to prevent things from getting worse. So, they are pretty much the reasons why all the tropes exist. If someone, then they'll try to find a group of that match all the archetypes: the jock, the nerd, the herd, the virgin, and the slut, and essentially punish them accordingly. And like the tropes of them splitting up or them acting in certain ways are largely engineered by them. Like one of the bits that kind of stood out to me is, in a horror movie, if someone gets the killer's weapon, attacks them, the killer falls down, obviously not dead, but the person throws away the weapon. In this one, it showed her hand gets shocked by the weapon, and so she dropped it without even seeming to realize she did it. Little touches like that make this worthwhile. Or you'll hear a whisper kind of hinting that someone should be going out for a walk, and they will think they thought of it themselves. So it plays with the genre and does a good job at it, all the while keeping kind of a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor out throughout the whole time. The movie is very quippy, and I still quote this one to this day. If I had to complain about something, it's kind of minor, and that's some of the character interactions and the archetypes. The part of the is playing up is that some of the characters are acting differently than their actual nature. Like Chris Evans, no, not Chris Evans, wrong Hollywood Chris and wrong Marvel actor. Chris Hemsworth's character in particular is kind of the one that's really noticeable here. I mean, you see a little bit at the beginning of what the characters are actually like, but essentially they've been kind of either drugged or otherwise messed with to match more of the archetypes. His character is a jock, but he's brilliant and a really nice guy, as shown in the first scene. By the middle of the movie, he's just the frat boy douchebag asshole. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a gradual possession than a progression there, because right now it's mostly just seems like this is what he gets when he's drunk. I mean, some of the characters are saying he's acting different, but we had like one, maybe two scenes of how he acts normally. So we don't really get that. Otherwise, like, the that's pretty much the only real nitpick. Like, it kind of also happens with the Brain character, who's also kind of a jock, but he slowly seems a little bit more nerdy as the movie goes along. But again, we didn't really know what he was like before. We only really are following our main girl through most of it, and even she, we don't really see what she was like before, though she does seem to realize she's saying things that she shouldn't at a few points. Minor nitpick. This movie really comes alive, especially when the cast recognizes what's going on and actually infiltrates the facility and unleashes an army of nightmares, and the movie just goes bananas into a haunted house extravaganza with a lot of references to other movies, things that you can kind of recognize what they're referencing for a lot of them. And also, there's even like a Left 4 Dead video game reference down there too. That was originally meant to actually tie into like a expansion for that never came about, but they were hinting towards it. So overall, this movie is still it's a 10 MacGuffin for me. It's just a fun movie, and there's the little nitpicks I have on it aren't really that bad. But the designs of the monsters are all inventive, the gore effects are good, and you actually like the characters on both sides, the company and the characters up in the cabin. They are likable and memorable. So that's really what sets this one apart. Is it playfully plays with the cliches, but in a set up way that they're in on the joke, and they definitely have a lot of appreciation for this sort of material. So The Cabin in the Woods is one I endlessly recommend. So I do encourage anyone who hasn't seen it, check it out. Alrighty, boy, and we'll see you later.